Hey, Fort Smith, welcome to Give Me 5 minutes with Fort Smith City Director Neil Martin, where we talk about the events that happened last week and we look ahead to what's going on this week. Let's go ahead and jump in. Last week, we had a regular board meeting, and this was actually on Friday, 2 days ago. Our February 18th meeting got canceled due to the weather, and it got moved to Friday. So we were there Friday night, had a long meeting. A number of discussions were held about sewer rates, and we'll get into all of that. We had a lot of disagreement as a board on a number of different things, but let's kind of talk about the larger issue. First off, we had a couple items on our agenda to talk about sewer rates and then sales tax. So maybe changes related to that sales tax. So first off, we voted 6-1. Director George Katsavis voted against to increase sewer rates as we laid out to the federal government, 3.5% a year starting this June in 2026, 27, 28, 29, for a 5-year period, a 3.5% rate increase. And that is what was presented to the citizens in the public forum 2 weeks ago, that very thing. Then we discussed making modifications to the 9.5% sales tax that's currently in place with the citizens of Fort Smith. We had two real items that we were discussing. One was going to increase the sales tax to 9.875. The other was to keep it at 9.5. Ultimately, what we decided for is keeping the sales tax at 9.5%. And what that's going to do, that's going to take 0.3% that is going to streets, bridges, and drainage and move that over to consent decree work. Right now, we have a 5/8 cent sales tax for consent decree. We're going to make that a full 1 penny, a full 1%. So streets drops, consent decree, the money going to consent decree raises. There was a lot of discussion about this. We talked about the history of getting here. We talked about who voted for the consent decree, who didn't, frustration around that. We talked about what the future is going to look like. There was a pretty healthy discussion, and I encourage you to go to fortsmithar.gov/watch to see that full agenda or full discussion around this sales tax reallocation. Ultimately, we voted 6 in favor, 1 against to keep it at the 9.5%. Director George Katsavis voted against it. So we wanted to hold, at least the consensus of the board was hold the sales tax at a rate that it currently is and not add any additional burden on to the citizens. We disagreed on an item related to what's called carryovers and carry forwards and carryovers. Those are related to projects that were agreed to in 2024, but just not paid, or we allocated the money and we ultimately we're going to do the project in 2025. I had concerns that this could impact our debt service ratio, and I caused pause. I asked for pause on this. There was some good discussion there, but that was approved, 4 in favor, 3 against. It was me, Director Lee Kemp, and Director George Katsavis. We also disagreed on amending the operating budget, the 2024 operating budget, and appropriating funds for a severance package for the former city administrator. This is a part of his contract. We voted 6 in favor, 1 against. Director Christina Katsavis was against that. The final thing that we disagreed upon was agreeing to an order to resolve civil action of Cavan versus the city of Fort Smith. And what this was about was related to dollars that was spent out of the mayor's budget that were to things that should not have been. And according to the Constitution, these items were illegal. And so, or they went to private entities, other things. And so We ended up voting 5 in favor, 2 against. Director Good and Director Rigo voted against that. Ultimately, this was to resolve that civil action. Through that, I said that we needed to remove some of that funding from the mayor's budget to protect our mayor now and future mayors, to make sure that we don't have spending that's going to places that it really shouldn't. And so that was what I wanted to do there. There was a lot of discussion about going back through our budget and making some cuts. If we're going to ask the citizens to pay additional sewer rate increases and water rate increases, it's incumbent on this board to go back and adjust the budget so that more money's going to water, more money's going to sewer, and anything that can be cut from our budget is. And so Director Rigo had some suggestions. Director Christina Katsavis, George Katsavis, and I voted against the 2025 budget. And so we want to make sure that budget is clean and is as efficient and as little wasteful spending as possible, so that the citizens know that we are spending their money as wisely as possible. So it was very interesting. Again, I always encourage you to go to fortsmithar.gov/watch. There you can see the full agenda, the things that I didn't cover here. You can watch the meeting, and I always encourage you to watch it. You can watch just a certain piece of that, or you can watch any previous meeting. It's always helpful for that. This Tuesday, February 25th, we have a study session. In this study session, we will be discussing a sports tourism presentation. And ultimately what this is going to be is a indoor sports facility. And our executive director of the Advertising and Promotions Committee will come speak to us. A lot of people have reached out to us, an indoor facility, and how they have kids that are competing in sports and are having to travel all over the state, other states, just to play sports. And this is the opportunity for us to hear about a proposed indoor sports facility. And then also we will be discussing the vacancy for the Director of Internal Audit and the City Administrator. Those positions are open now. And we have a temporary solution in place for internal audit. We have Baker Tilly. I'm the liaison with Baker Tilly, and they are working with our internal audit department to move our internal audit department forward. So we're going to be talking about those open positions and how we would go about filling those, kind of some progress on those things. We have candidates for the Director of Internal Audit position, so we just need to talk further about that. So we'll have the opportunity to do that. That'll be at the Blue Lion, 101 North 2nd Street in downtown Fort Smith. That's it for this week's Give Me 5. I hope the information was informative and made you better aware of the items that are in front of your board of directors. Everyone have a great week. The weather should be warmer, and we'll do this again next Sunday on Give Me 5.